Hello and welcome to the DocuSphere prototype demo. If you're watching this, it's probably because you're curious about what we're doing at DocuSphere and how it can solve some of the challenges you face in accessing and making sense of your vast amounts of data. At DocuSphere, we're all about simplicity. We want to make it effortless for decision makers like you to find, organize, and generate insights from your data by using natural language and without needing to navigate complex tools like Power BI and Tableau. Imagine asking questions about your data directly using natural language and getting instant actionable insights without ever touching a spreadsheet. We're in the demo phase right now, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on how we can make this tool even better for you. Your feedback could play a crucial role in shaping the product into something you and other professionals would love to use daily. But for now, let's jump right in, and I'll show you what DocuSphere can do, will do, and how it can completely transform the way you interact with your data. Let's jump right in. All right, so I'll start by briefly introducing myself, then we will go through the problem, the solution, the product core features, and then I'll take you through a demo. And finally, we'll wrap it up with the next steps and what's to come for DocuSphere. So a little bit about myself. I was a mechanical engineer. I also worked as a product design engineer, and I also worked at Unilever in data, supply chain, and analytics. So I'm quite a technical person in that sense. Because of my experience in these jobs and also the people that I met along the way, I became very interested in machine learning and automation. So I started learning that on the side. And I also started a YouTube channel where I teach people about AI and how to use it in their businesses. Because of learning AI, I had to start learning Python and some front-end code. All of this allowed me to develop a passion for building things that people love to use. And all of these things together enabled me to create DocuSphere. So one of the main problems we're trying to tackle at DocuSphere is scattered documentation. If you're a business of any size, ranging from small business to large enterprise, you probably have data of different formats spread across different platforms, right? Whether that be Google Drive, SharePoint, Dropbox, a data lake, a data warehouse, and so on, right? And also in different formats. So PowerPoint, Excel, images, right? And the list goes on. So the problem with this is that you have all this data across different sources. And if you want to generate useful insights from it, well, where do you start, right? What data do you pick? And this is going to cause delays, right? Just knowing what data to pick is going to cause delays. You don't know exactly where to start, and it's going to take time. And additionally, on top of that, you might end up with poor decision making as well from the data that you pick, because it might not be the right data. And in many cases as well, you're gonna have to rely on technical experts to gather all this data and extract the insights that you want, right? So that's one of the main problems we're trying to tackle. Another interesting problem that we're looking at is collaborating with other decision makers to create useful insights. So currently, there's platforms to use this, but they're very clunky and it's really hard to collaborate in them. And one of the other main points that we're trying to tackle is time spent generating insights. Sure, you can get all this data together, right? But now you're going to do more work on top of it. Now you're going to manipulate that data and change it and edit it in some way that makes sense to then push it onto a graph or some sort of tool that you can end up visualizing through. And sure, you have tools like Tableau and Power BI. They're very powerful. But the problem with them is that they're very complex and they have a really steep learning curve, especially for people that are not technical, right? And this was my scenario when I worked at Unilever. Sure, I was an engineer back then, but regarding data and analytics, I was definitely a non-technical person. And I used to remember that I had to manage so much documentation in order to generate the insights. And I used to spend hours and hours and hours searching through Excel, SharePoint for files, and also verifying the data was so time consuming because I had to chat to people back and forth. Hey, is this the right file? Hey, let me update it. Hey, this and that. Very messy, right? And I started learning VBA and Power Automate to create the solutions inside Excel because I tried Power BI and Tableau and I just found it so difficult, so hard to comprehend that I went back to Excel and I tried to build solutions inside Excel by using VBA and Power Automate. So imagine how difficult and how confusing it was for me to use Tableau and Power BI that I had to go back to Excel and figure everything out inside there. So obviously I understood the limitations and the frustrations, and I believed that I was not the only one that was going through these things. So that led me to create DocuSphere. And that's what we're going to come to now. So just imagine if you could unify, manage, and analyze all this data from all these different sources, such as the ones that I mentioned before, in one single platform, and also have the ability to generate automatic insights from it. So that's what we are aiming with DocuSphere. Not only join all these data sources so that you can ask across all the different platforms, but also automatically generate insights from all this information. And our mission is very simple. We want to empower decision makers with instant insights through the power of artificial intelligence. This is how we're planning to do it. So first of all, we want to centralize all the data. Second of all, we want to allow for AI agents to sit on top of this data layer so that they're able to manipulate the data effectively and also generate these visuals. So sort of a two-in-one. A very important point as well, which a lot of these current platforms for manipulating data fail, such as Tableau and Power BI, is the user interface. They're not friendly at all. So with DocuSphere, we want to change that. We want to make it so that someone with no prior experience comes in and knows how to use the tool within a day or even less. I want to make it as intuitive as possible and with less friction as possible for the user to start asking questions. And artificial intelligence is going to allow us that because it allows users to ask questions on their data using natural language. And finally, I want to enable this platform, DocuSphere platform, to be collaborative. So sure, we have the natural language capabilities and all that, but it will be amazing to also have a community of people or your team to step in your dashboards and also help you out with the insights, right? So these are all the things that we're trying to aim with DocuSphere. And I think now is the right time to show you a demo. So we will be testing these 4 different files from the supply chain industry, right? It contains the following data, but anyways, I'm going to show you the actual contents of the files. So this is the first spreadsheet or file, and it contains somewhere around 9,000 rows. It contains the following columns, and it contains also multiple sheets, such as a freight rate sheet, warehousing costs, warehousing capacities, plant ports, products per plant, and so on. Then we have the second spreadsheet or file. This only contains 1 sheet, and it contains the following rows. This file contains, or this sheet contains somewhere around 10,000 rows. Then we have the stock data file containing data such as SKU ID, warehouse ID, customer types, and so on. We have the second sheet containing inventory control data. Then we have SKU items and warehouse data as well. Then we have the last file, which is a much bigger file containing only 1 sheet. And this sheet contains the following columns. Feel free to stop the video at any point to have a read at the columns. And it contains somewhere around 180,000 rows. And once you have the files with you, then you can go ahead and upload them on our platform via Google Drive or some other data stores, right? We're planning on adding connections to SAP, SharePoint, Databricks, and so on. Some of them are the ones that I have included in the presentation, and I discussed them already. But it really depends on the demo and the feedback that we get on what integrations and what data stores we connect to. You can also upload a file from your local device. And currently we only accept CSV and Excel files, but we're planning on adding PDFs, images, PowerPoints, and so on. And then right here on the table management, so you see how it has table names, right? So what happens is once you upload a spreadsheet, specifically spreadsheets, once you upload a spreadsheet onto our platform, it gets divided into its individual sheets, right? So for example, this is stock data. So we have 4 sheets right here, okay? So if you have a look here, we have 1 sheet, 2 sheets, 3 sheets, and 4 sheets, right? So that's what it is. And what's happening as well is once they get uploaded, there's a language model that scrapes through the sheet and it tells you, it gives you a summary of what the data contains, okay? And then you can go ahead and delete the sheet if you don't want to do research on it or you don't want the AI agent to analyze it, okay? I'll show you what I mean now. So once you've uploaded the files that you want to analyze, you can go to the dashboard section and you will be greeted with the latest insights on your live data. So the plan here is to connect to live data feeds in your company or your business so that fresh data comes every minute, every hour, every day, every week, right? This depends on how often the client wants the data to be refreshed. And yeah, we plan this to be fully customizable to the client's needs. And the plan is to also add a drag and drop table so that you can drag in any graph types, any chart types, or any amount of charts that you want in this section here, okay? And then below, you can create a dashboard to start your research or analysis in order to chat with your data. So let's call it demo 5. And let's click. And here you will be presented with the conversational UI. This is where you will chat with the AI agent. And on the left, you have a notepad so that you can collect all of the results from the analysis that you do on the right with the AI agent. And what you see here below are the tables that you can chat to. So the idea with this is if you don't want to chat with specific tables, you can go ahead and toggle them off if you want to talk on a specific set of files, right? But we're going to revert those changes. And yeah, so let me show you the notepad on the left very briefly. So you can do a heading 1, for example. And then you can add stuff like bullet points and also tables, right? Amongst other stuff, right? I'll show you the to-do list as well. There's a task list as well, even if you want it, and a few other things as well, right? But anyways, let's go and ask some questions on the data. So first, we are going to tell it, well, what does it know about the supply chain logistics problem tables? Right, so it knows the following. So it's separating it by table, but inside the table, you have each column, right? Great. So it definitely knows about the file, which is good. And then I'm going to ask it to show me a table of the top 5 carriers. So it's going to go to DocuSphere's database. It's going to generate some queries, and then it's going to generate some tables, right? And it was actually a trick question. So we said top 5 carriers, but there was actually only 3. And the language model or the AI agent actually realized that, okay? And let's say that you like the answer and you want to see more answers like these when you ask on shipment weights. You can go ahead and click the thumbs up button. And what this is going to do is collect the query as well as the AI agent answer, and it's going to take that onto a training pipeline so that the AI agent knows that you actually like the answer. So it's going to try to replicate these answers of this style in the future, right? So the more you hit this thumbs up button, more of these style of answers are going to appear. So it's going to get smarter essentially, and it's going to understand you better in terms of preferences and answers that you like to receive. Right, so now let's ask it to display a bar chart on the number of late shipments by carrier. So it's going to do the same, but now we've equipped it with some code that it's going to allow it to generate a bar chart, right? And the nice thing about this is that it's interactive. So you can hover on top and see the actual values on the Y and X axis. And you can also go ahead and select the specific area in that chart. And let's say that you like this and you want to consider it in your reporting. Then you can go ahead and click this button here, and it's going to move it onto the notepad, right? This is how we currently have it as a prototype, but we're planning to add a drag and drop feature so that you can just drag it directly onto the notepad, right? And then you have several options like doing highlighting, for example, entering URLs if you need, adding some code if you need, right? And all sorts of things. Great. So you can even also do other stuff like doing lasso selects, right? So specific areas that you want to select on, or you can do squares as well, or even you can download it as well as a PNG, right? So let's say you want to add it on a presentation or something and you want it to be a bit smooth. So you just download it and then drag that folder or drag that file as a PNG onto your presentation. We got some feedback from this from our demo users, and because of the feedback, we're planning on adding this as a feature where you can just copy it onto your device clipboard, right? The same way you do Command C and Command V on your computer, so that you can just copy paste it directly onto an external application such as PowerPoint, right? This should remove friction. So if you want a feature to be seen along with any other features that you liked so far, just let us know. All right, so now we're going to ask it a bit more of a complex question. We're going to ask it to give me the optimal carrier for minimizing freight costs for each origin destination pair based on historical data. So this requires a little bit more of a thought process, right? Even though it did it pretty quick. But yeah, as you can see, these are questions that might be hard to find on Power BI, or might take time to actually do on Power BI, right? Because they're a bit more abstract. So as you saw, it was very quick. We have the pair as well with the carrier and the minimum costs, right? Great. So now we are going to ask it to determine which plant port pairs are the most efficient in terms of cost per unit weight shipped. So it's going to perform some reasoning as well in the background, and it's going to go ahead and generate a table for us, right? But this is the power with AI agents, because you can allow them to do more abstract thinking. Whereas if you were to give this to an analyst or try to do this on Power BI, it would definitely take a lot of time and be more harder to do. There you go. So we get the cost per unit and all that, and it's great because all of the calculations are done in the background, right? We give it an environment where it's able to program by itself and then perform all of these calculations based on its reasoning. And yeah, that's the first file. And now we are going to go onto the Superstore file. So let's ask it to give me a brief summary of what you know about the Superstore tables. Right, so it knows the following, which is great. And then I'm going to ask it to generate me a line graph of monthly sales in 2011, okay? Let's say we want to analyze some historic data. And here we go. And once again, it's interactive, as I mentioned before, so you can zoom into the specific point. And you can also, if you hover on top of the line, you can also see the exact data points that are plotted on this graph, which are directly related to all the data points on the Excel file, right? If you like it, well, you can put it down here. Here's the information regarding monthly sales, and then I paste that below, right? Amazing. And now we're going to ask it to generate me a pie chart, okay? Pie chart to show the proportion of sales by shipping mode. Right, there we go. That was quick. And here we have the proportion of sales by shipping mode, right? Standard class, second class, first class, and same day. Great. Now we're going to ask on the stock data file, which is the next file. Can you give me a brief summary of what you know about the stock data tables? So it knows about the file, which is great. And now we are going to ask it another complex question, okay? Based on current inventory levels and lead times, which SKUs are the highest risk of stockouts in the next 30 days? And what should the optimal reorder quantities and timings be to prevent stockouts, right? As you can see, this is a question that is probably hard to replicate and get an analysis on Power BI, or if you were to give it to an analyst, right? Because you have to gather all the data sources first, and then you have to actually process it. So this is something that DocuSphere is able to do pretty good. And there you go. So based on the calculations, here are the SKUs at the highest risk of stockouts in the next 30 days, right? So it did all of the calculations in the background, right? Which is amazing. We have the SKU IDs, inventory quantity, average lead time in days, maximum lead time in days, and then we also have the days of inventory remaining, right? And it grabbed all of this directly from the Excel file. And we even have some recommendations as well, right? So based on the file that we have retrieved, it also analyzed what we should do. So reorder the quantities, reorder the timings, right? And it gives us even an example as well, right? Which is great. It's going to help us make decisions very quickly on our stock, for example. All right, now we're going to go into the last file, which contains 180,000 rows. And we're going to ask it to give me a brief summary of what you know about the data co-supply chain dataset tables, right? Well, I say tables, but there's only one. And we see here that it knows that the file is there. Right now, I understand that everything looks a bit messy. Like if you see any messy calculations, for example, and all that, well, it's only a matter of fixing the format on the conversational UI. So it will be just some fixes on the code in the front end. So if it looks messy, don't worry. Even this, if it looks very messy and full of information, we're planning on changing that. As I said, it's a prototype right now, but the important thing is that you get and you understand the capabilities of having such tool in your workplace, right? In order to do quick decision making. Right, so it understands about the file, and now we are going to ask it to list the top 5 products with the highest late delivery risk. There you go. So here are the 5 products with the highest delivery risk, and we have the products and then delivery count, right? How many times have these products arrived late? Great, simple and effective. And now I will ask it to please analyze the monthly trend of late deliveries over the past year and show me a line graph comparing that with the total number of orders per month, right? So this is a matter of giving us a more complex visualization, right? So not only one line graph, but it should generate us something a bit more complex, since this is a more complex query. And there you go. So this is the line graph displaying the monthly trend of total orders and late deliveries, right? So we can see a trend between the late deliveries and the total orders, okay? There you go. So, and this spans between 2015 and 2018, right? The graph was actually pretty large, and it did that successfully. It got all that data from 2015 until 2018. That's the data available in the file, and then it plotted the total orders with the late deliveries, right? Which is great. All right, so that's the end of the demo with the conversational UI, and therefore with the agent. And yeah, just something else that I want to note is that if you don't want to chat with the AI agent on this platform, we're planning on adding integrations so that you're able to chat with the AI agent on the platform of your choice, right? On the communication platform of your choice. So we're going to add integrations to Slack, to Teams, and pretty much any other communications platform that we get on the feedback. All right, so let's go back to the presentation, and this is the roadmap that's coming ahead. Currently, we are on the demo phase where we will get feedback from people like you, and therefore iterate on the product until we have something that people want to use. And in the meantime, we will also accept common file types such as PowerPoint, Word images, and any other file type that our clients or people that try our demo want. There's also a plan on adding other features, but this is not really important and relevant at the moment. We're also planning, and this is important, we're planning on refining the AI models for specific use cases, right? The prototype that you saw is not specific to supply chain. We haven't trained it in the supply chain industry, but when we do, it's going to become really accurate at answering queries in that domain. We want to do the same for other domains such as e-commerce, sales and marketing, and pretty much any other domains that your teams operate in. And most importantly, we want to add those integrations that we mentioned before to Salesforce, SAP, Tableau, and SharePoint so that you're able to retrieve the data from anywhere, right? Just data that lives throughout all of the platforms in your enterprise or your business, right? So That's pretty much it. Thank you for watching the video. And if you want to contact us, please go to the website and you can book a demo with us so that you can chat with us and you can communicate your pain points, anything that's going on in your work that you would like DocuSphere to tackle. And I'll leave you here the LinkedIn URL so you can go ahead and follow our page as well. All right. Thank you and see you soon.